So hi, everybody. This is Mary Ellen Mann, and I'm a clinical social worker, luckily getting a moment with Kelley Gray, who is a licensed professional counselor. And she comes to us by courtesy of her endearing friendship to me. Thank you. And let me give her a little credit where it's due for sure. She is a person who has decided to care for others and be a good force in my life. So I'm a better therapist because Kelley Gray is in my life. Thank you, Kelley. And she has given us her time, which she does not have really at her disposal. And I thank you for that. And she is a preeminent intensive therapist. And let me break that down a little bit. That means that you can hire her to work with you for several hours per day, 5 days to 10 days a week. Or 10 days in a time period.
Over 2 weeks.
Over 2 weeks, thank you. Because there aren't 10 days in the week. So while I did
don't do weekends.
I did work hard, the math isn't there. I apologize. So anyway, so as a clinical therapist, both of us, we care deeply about making sure we feel approachable to you. We care deeply about making sure that our language today and our work and our effort and our care for our own personal lives is real to you. And so she is with Restoring the Soul, started by Michael Cusick. And Restoring the Soul is highly touted, internationally and nationally renowned. Kelley, you worked with people from Scotland, all through the United States, Canada, different parts of the world. And she hails also from Alabama, which incidentally, talk about intersection. My parents are from Alabama. And if you didn't already get that drift from the idea of the fact that I have a two-named first name, Mary Ellen. And so it was a soul match from the beginning. And Kelley, thank you for joining us today. And thank you for your work you do and for caring so much about being deeply intellectual, funny, and approachable, kind, and in service to the greater good always. To know Kelley is to love Kelley Gray, and truly her name alone stands on its own. I just love your name. So Kelley, today, what kind of motivates you to be part of our session and time together? Anything in particular that you want to start with and say?
I like doing fun things with you because you are delightful and brilliant and just very earthy. And so you say things that I love. But you also have so many 50-cent words. And so it's always fun to have a good conversation with you.
Okay.
And I care so deeply and so passionately about mental health and about emotional health and about people's relationships with themselves and God and spouses and kids and one another. And it's not like I have all the answers, but I'm just so very interested in the conversation. And so with this being an extremely weird time in the history of the globe, when you asked if I wanted to have a conversation about some of these things, it just felt totally right and fun. So
good. Yeah. So thank you for being here. And doesn't she look like Jennifer Lawrence, everybody? And I know we're going to get your feedback later. So I just watched the movie Joy last night, and I was texting Kelley some of my questions for today, and I think she looks like Jennifer Lawrence, and I'm so excited about that. So anyway, I'm so excited for people to know about you. Beautiful, inside and out, really great, fun, inquisitive brain that you have.
Okay, I've handled all the compliments I can handle. You're so kind.
I'm going to stop. Okay, so what I told Kelley is today we're going to look at soul, body, mind. And here's how I learned about the soul. The soul is the seat of the mind, will, and emotions. If you guys feel like separate from that and that's not characteristic of what you understand of the soul, I'm open to it. The soul being mind, will, and emotion. And then we go to body, and then we go to spirit. And what I learned about the spirit is that the spirit cleanses the soul and the body. It goes in and it rushes in and it refines the soul and the body. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say. Our first segment for today, we're going to do 3 segments. Being first, I apologize. Let me go back to that. The first segment is the soul. Then the second segment will be the body, and the third will be the spirit. So stay tuned. We'll make it quick. We'll make it lovely. And so with Kelley, your first thought is, and yes, I do hawk these ideas from other people, and people have a lot of issues with that. But what is saving your soul right now? What is saving your life right now that you would like to share with us as a beautiful professional therapist out in the field?
Yes, and I'd like
doing it every day. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and after I answer, I want to hear yours too, because we will all learn from that. I'm a contemplative nerd. I love centering prayer. I love my little quiet. I just close my eyes and pray. So I have been trying to prioritize that. So it's kind of a Christian meditation. And this is not just for Christians by any stretch. Meditation is so helpful to everyone. And so meditation, I feel like, helps get me more grounded in myself. And I can feel later on in the day, as weird things happen every day, I just feel more like, I got this. It's okay. We're all going to be okay. And I can be less reactive. I'm not saying I'm not reactive, but I can tell when I'm practicing my prayer practices that I'm just responding so much better. And everybody does better in my house, right? I mean, if mom is dysregulated, the whole family gets really dysregulated really fast. And if I can hold my groundedness, then everybody is better off. And then honestly, I mean, this is kind of a body thing, but as we know, I mean, we know how it all loops together. But if I exercise, if I do something that makes me feel even the slightest bit strong, and I'm just doing some free yoga because it's freaking snowing again in Denver. And so that takes away, it just takes away the outside.
It does.
Yeah. And then I'm not able to read right now. My reader's kind of broken right now. I don't know if it's quarantine or what, but there are just so many distractions. So I can just read little snippets, and I will read, I'll read a little bit of poetry. Maybe in one of our future talks, I will read a little poetry, because poetry.
You sent me some poetry. Is it okay if I quote it now?
Yes, go for it.
I'm so proud of you. And I just loved it. And I thought with a different life, I'd be memorizing it. I think I told you that.
You did say that. You did.
And I'm actually cycling through so many different memes that
I send you a lot of weird things.
Yeah, I do.
It's a good mixture.
Smarter for him though, so that's good.
I don't know if it's smarter.
Well, it is. It does feel good.
More whole. I think maybe you. I think you feel more whole.
Here it is. Okay. Mm-hmm. And this is my cowboy hat with a.
I was going to say, what the heck is above it? You be careful.
Texas Ranger. Okay. So anyway, this love you now have of the truth will never forsake you. Okay. And then you underlined these pieces. Your joys and sufferings on this arduous path are lifting your worn veil like a rising stage curtain, and will surely reveal your magnificent self, so that you can guide this world like Hafiz and the hidden choir God and his friends will forever conduct. So, and I think you had some old pajamas on, because I'm seeing pajamas somewhere in there, but
pretty much only own old pajamas.
That's okay. Because you're too busy to go shopping.
I am.
You're in high demand. You don't have time. So, yeah, I love your poetry. Thank you. Who is the writer of that?
Hafiz. He is a Persian poet.
I have
so
the one. What is it? It was about unlocking. It was I have to go back to that. But anyway, I love that. That was beautiful, Kelley. Thank you.
Right. You're so welcome. Now, how about you? Can we hear your answer? What are you doing for your soul? What's saving your soul right now? What's saving your life? Yeah.
Honestly, running. And I know that sounds so banal and not very interesting, and it's hard on your joints and back and neck and all that. And I get it. I think somewhere deep down inside of me is an kind of a runner who wants to
Yeah.
be an athlete, you know, and I think for me to run is to release every single part of my body. Um, and it doesn't hurt me. I'm not saying that it feels always easy, but it doesn't
Yeah.
hurt my body. And I actually went to a running store once and they said, "Oh, you're in that like small category of people who actually has a perfect stride." And I thought I took from that, like, I'm meant to do this. And it's not,
Wow.
it's where my brain, like my BDNF comes out, like my brain derived neurotropic factor. It'll just like release itself into me. And I feel like, oh, I can respond to this issue. I can respond with
Mm.
compassion.
Yeah.
I can have joy and humor. Oh, that's right.
Mhm.
And so I think that that for me is my prayer time. It's
Yeah.
a time of feeling like I'm connected to something larger. Um,
Mhm.
Running inside or outside is actually this not the exact same idea, but I do different things with the inside run than I do the
Yeah.
outside run.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying like all I ever do is like run and I'm good to go. But that is a huge factor for me. If I don't have physical, you know, exertion, my
Yeah.
brain literally, I feel like says, no way, I'm not letting
Right.
you access me,
Right.
you know? So
Yeah.
there's that.
Totally.
Okay. So my
Totally.
next question for you, Wonderkin that you are, sorry, I had to go back to my thing. Okay. So the next thing is, what is on your nightstand?
I have a stack of books. Like, I mean, it is really, I can't even, the whole screen can't contain. I have such a
Mhm.
high stack of books
Mhm.
that all have dust on them. And
Yeah.
so, cause since I'm just not reading right now, so really
Right.
mostly my phone is on my nightstand and I will text silly things. I will just
Yes.
text silly things with friends and I
Mhm.
will try to catch up on my work. And that is literally all I've got right now.
All you have
I've
right
read
now.
lots of interesting things in my life and I have a whole lot more ahead of me. But in
Okay.
this season, for some reason, the bandwidth has closed on my reading. I do have a journal. I've started journaling a little bit more to make my just my own processing a little bit more concrete. Like, you know, if you can put it down on
Yes.
paper, it feels
Mhm.
a little bit more manageable. So I had really kind of left journaling for a good long time,
Yeah.
especially when I found centering prayer. I was like, oh, it just kind of like it all moves through. It's fine. I don't have to get that concrete and linear on it. But I have needed to bring that back again, the concrete linear piece. So, and then my love poems from God, Daniel Ladinsky. That is where that
Okay.
poem came from, and it's poets from the East and the West. So, mystics from Christianity, Islam, Sufism. So, anyways, for some reason that is just really that's feeding me, and they're these small little snippets.
And
How about you?
I'm totally oh, my nightstand. Okay.
Yes, your
My
nightstand.
nightstand is okay. I just love, okay, so this is Kate Mann's recent book on,
Mm-hmm.
it's called Down Girl. And it's basically the logic of, literally the subtitle is The Logic of Misogyny. And it doesn't sound very like light reading, but in a weirdest way, to me, she is a prophetess. And she's speaking to something that I have felt and that we've all been a part of, that does not care. It does not care about change, and it doesn't care about the ethics of Jesus. And I'm not asking everyone to get on board. This isn't about protecting a mindset per se, as it is promoting righteousness to me. And
Yeah.
righteousness, as I've learned it to be, is the blend of grace and law. And
Mm-hmm.
law has, it says, hey, there are consequences to that. And
Mm-hmm.
why would Jesus suffer on a cross if there were no consequences
Mm-hmm.
to not connecting with life and to connect with death? And so
Yeah.
it's not moralism I'm speaking from. I'm not speaking from that heart. And actually, she's a professor. She's a meta ethics feminist philosopher, Kate Mann,
Mm-hmm.
out
Mm-hmm.
of Cornell. I asked God to give me the heart of his heart and his brain and his spirit, of course, when I'm reading these
Yeah.
things, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not about power over, it's shared power. Always for me,
Yes.
as I'm reading, I
Absolutely.
think about how can we all disseminate influence? How can we
Yes.
decentralize the voice? And how can
Yeah.
we make everyone else connect with the virtue they were made in? And I love the word dignity, but I think I'm a big believer too of the word virtue that we were made in.
Mm.
And so then I have that one, and then I have because Glennon Doyle mentioned Chanel Miller's book, Know My Name. And Chanel Miller is the victim of the tragic sexual assault that took place on Stanford campus by a person who was on the swim team.
Right,
And
right.
let us understand just the sort of the degrading and backwards nature of the criminal investigation into her event. And
Yes.
I think
Yes.
what she says, though, that's I think really important to resurrect is that people cared. People cared about what she went through. And I keep thinking, if no one cares, then it won't change. And
Right.
so I think the book to me is about the movement of change and how people, when they know better, oftentimes do better. And I have to cling to that. And I'm certainly, and so are you, I believe, absolutely, are representative of that.
Yes.
So
Can I say something about? I want to say something about that.
Go.
I'm so glad that you brought that case up and that the book is highlighting that case, because that felt like such an important moment where that entitlement and the just the lack of just blatantly dehumanizing a person, it was laid completely bare in the light of day. And so that made sexual assault, it felt like it pulled back a veil. That case pulled back a veil.
It did.
And so so I'm thrilled that you brought that back up again, and I'm thrilled that she is focusing on it, and that she has your same last name, I think is really cool. But
Kate Mann is awesome. Chanel Miller wrote Know My Name.
Chanel Miller did
and,
that. Okay.
Kate Mann wrote, and she has a silent E, so I think that makes her a little fancier than I am.
That's okay. You're fancy enough. You're cool.
She's fancy.
You can cover that.
No,
one other thing about
she's very kind. She's very humble in her writing, and just off the charts exciting too.
Cool. No, one quick thing, a Thomas Merton quote that I am kind of obsessed with, and he was writing during the Vietnam War, and he was writing about pacifism, and he said so much of what is passing as pacifism is a veiled power grab, where the people who are they have less power, they just want to take the power to then subjugate the group that was subjugating them.
Oh no.
And so when you're talking about shared power, he says true pacifism is you are equalizing the power, and you are leveling, and everyone gets to be a part of the conversation. We don't just have a new perpetrator who is punishing the old perpetrator, which is just going to continue that ego, that cycle of punishing. I just love Merton.
Do you know where you read that, Kelley? And if not, that's okay. But just if you had that off the top of your head, like, that is really important. I think that is really, we're allowed as human beings to be as smart as we're designed to be. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that taking us to the next level is what you just did there.
It's either in it's either in his biography. It's either in the biography Seven Story Mountain, which was the first thing he ever wrote, which he's so adorable. It was a New York Times bestseller, and he later on said, "I've written a bestseller once, and I'll take great pains to never do so again." I was like, I think you're so cool. You're so cool. You don't want your face. You're so cool. But it's either in Seven Story Mountain or New Seeds of Contemplation, or there's a tiny little book I bought for myself, and it's like this big, and it's excerpts. It's just excerpts of Thomas Merton's writing, and I would read it, and my mind would be so blown that I would sometimes yell, "Pocket Merton!" I would just yell it because the book was blowing my mind, and it's this big. So there you
know what? Pocket Merton is the new hashtag. It's the new hashtag. It is. I mean, bring it back.
That sounds a little dirty.
Yeah. Well,
maybe
not dirty.
Is that PG-13?
Well, Pocket Merton.
Well, we'd see what Urban Dictionary says.
Okay. Well,
Go there.
we'll let it ride right now. And I'll just say you're inspiring us to be. I had never heard the term that you just brought up, which was the shrewd pacifist, that equalizes power. And I just want anyone who's listening to this, that is the core of work for me as a human. Is and I know you, Kelley, you are a part of that. Equalizing power is it should be second nature to all of us, and it's not. And um I don't understand what the benefit of only one person having power, because one person doesn't have the answers. And I think the community, like the communal prayer, the communal connection of life, oh my goodness, like there's so much I do not know. And I'll never forget, I heard from this woman whose her dad was extremely successful. Came from Armenia.
Okay.
And so Armenian and in LA, and she's like, my dad made his money overnight. And I asked what his philosophy was. And I don't know how I had the bandwidth and the wherewithal to ask that. And she said, every human being has their genius, and never decline a connection with a human being. And here he came as an immigrant into the United States, Armenia, and made his money overnight. And he made his money basically realizing that newspapers needed to be paid for and accessed on street corners. And he had been listening to something, I don't know what, and said, okay. And so he devised, if you guys remember back in the day, the newspaper, like kind of where you put your 50 cents in, you got your newspaper for the day.
Yeah.
So he created that based upon connection, upon connection, and believing that people had ideas and people had needs. And as a therapist, and anyone who's been in my practice for, received any counsel from me, has heard me say, so feelings tell you what you need so you can create a plan. I call it the F&P, and that's not a swear word. The F&P.
We could make it one really easily.
Feelings, needs,
not hard.
And I know. And so when you have a feeling, you have a need, you have a plan, and the feeling, if you argue with a feeling, then you can't certainly arrive at your plan because you deny the feeling. And
totally.
Anyhow, so thank you for sharing that sense of, the shared power concept. Okay, so my next question is, what is your favorite binge series? This is about the soul still. What's your favorite binge series? Oops, sorry.
Okay, we have a new one and we have an old one that we have resurrected. So Mrs. Maisel is what we are watching right now.
Amazing.
Mrs. Maisel, have you seen it?
Yeah, I saw the first season. And not the second or what have you. So So I'm
at first her privilege got on my nerves. I had to get over how much privilege she had. I'm like, wouldn't it be nice to be raised in such a way that you have that much freaking confidence? What's that like? So I felt annoyed and personalized it a little, but I got past it and it's decent entertainment. And then 30 Rock, we started old 30 Rock over, in which we'd seen them all. But just to start way back in 2010, I don't know, 2008, I don't know when did 30 Rock happen, but so good, so funny. The characters are so crazy, they're so good. So
what's the connection for you with 30 Rock?
I love Tina Fey. She makes me so happy because she's so funny. I mean, I sent you all those GIFs of her like waking up and eating cake.
I know.
Saying she was going to transition her pajamas into day wear. She says things that I connect to. So how about yourself? What are you watching? I'm going to wipe my nose, and it doesn't mean maybe I have coronavirus. I don't think so.
Well, we're doing respectful distancing. I'm going to call it respectful distancing. I retermed it.
You should, and you can, and you just did.
Okay, thank you. My favorite series right now, oh my gosh. Okay, so this is bad, this is good, this is lighthearted, this is clever, and it's stupid. All at the same time. So my
Mm-hmm.
first, I had a client that talked to me about Outlander. And by the way, the series was written by an accountant. We love her. Outlander. It's a little bit on the racy side, a little bit. Okay, and then
Okay.
I
So it's
love
not
the
for the
history.
kids.
I feel connected to for some reason. I mean, I feel very Irish,
Mm-hmm.
and I am Scottish and Irish and all that. So,
And a cowgirl.
and a cowgirl. So there was that.
Yeah.
Plus, I think I'm a frustrated doctor. And so
Yes.
she's a physician, she's a nurse. And then her character like moves into being a healer. And I've always been extremely fascinated by all things kind of chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
My two highest grades in high school were chemistry and math. So that makes me
Mm-hmm.
a massive geek who I just love all that stuff. And then I had some weird life things happen. And then I moved more into social connection and looking at things from a behavioral standpoint. And I'm not at all regretful. It is the best thing that's ever happened. And so she connects with me there and her character in Outlander. The other thing is Schitt's Creek, which is not great, but I love it because it talks to me, it's about transformation
Mm-hmm.
and people becoming more connected out of the image and into the soul, into the matter, into the human.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hilarious, very well written, very well
Yes.
acted. There's tons of devotion to that series.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness. And I would say my other binge series is just The Greatest British Baking Show because it was highlighted on
Oh,
Madam
yeah.
Secretary, which was my favorite series for a while. And then that ended out of nowhere. I feel betrayed. And I loved it and I still love it. And Preston, my son, and I talk all the time about who we think is going to maintain their status on the show. And it's a form of bonding. Okay, so thank you for sharing that. Okay, so my next question is, what cliche responses annoy you the most when you share tough stuff in your life? And again, this is soul, mind, will, emotion. Kelley Gray, tell us about the cliche responses that annoy you the most when you share the tough stuff in your life.
Yeah. As I have thought about that one, any kind of version of good luck with that. That just says,
I hate that one.
I am not in that with you in any way. I am not interested in any of your solutions.
Idiot.
I won't sit with you.
There's so many subtext to that.
Yes. Because I am
so rude. Never say that. Anyone who's hearing this, never say good luck with that. It says, I think you're an idiot and I do not care about you.
And I don't want to.
Abandoning statement.
Yeah. And it just also is a big glaring, I'm an unhelpful person. When someone says that, they're saying, they're saying, I'm an emotionally unhelpful person. So, that is my least favorite, because I'm so deep and I'm so emotional. And so when I share, I can also get kind of like a deer in the headlights, like she's talking about something, but I just don't know what she is even talking about. So I'm sorry. And then you kind of feel naked, like you took off something and everybody's just looking at you and nobody else took anything off. So yeah. How about you?
Sharing that. I am so sorry about that. I think that's a patronizing statement. I have hated it since I remember the first time I heard that, and maybe I had it said to me before, but the first time I remember really having a moment of reckoning, if you will, was I said, I want my second child's baby book to be as full as my first child's baby book. And I, and I'm an Enneagram 8, so tell me I can't do something, and then I'm even weirder about getting it done. And so, and this person looked at me and said, good luck with that. And my kids were born 16 months apart, not intentionally. And, but yeah, but just completely like the greatest, like I always tell Preston, my second child, like, you're the greatest gift I never even knew I could even ask God for. Like, I couldn't even imagine that I would have the fortune of having a child right away.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even know that I could even ask God for him. Like it was so beyond my
Mm-hmm.
expectations. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying parenting two small children, like 2 under 2 and all that was easy, but it was like this complete, like we call oftentimes watershed events. Anyway, so a watershed event for me it wasn't a crisis watershed. It was like this incredible, I couldn't believe it. Like I didn't even know God could be so generous and give me a child so quickly. And so that's Preston. That's my second boy. And he reminds me so much of my sister and my brother. And those are some difficult things for me, family dynamics. So for me to see God's goodness in him is a great gift. So I was talking about that with someone, and I said, I just really want my baby book for him to be as thick and as clear and as detailed. And she said, good luck with that. Oh, good luck with that. And I thought, oh my gosh, you're not even here with me. You're in some other space. And so I really resonate. And I'd have to say, I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
And I can't think right now, honestly, that I have to say, like, your adage and cliche response that annoys you, I have to say I am right there with you, linked arm. I think that is one of my most unfavorite things I've ever heard. And so I didn't have a new one. I'm just going to be right with you. Okay.
Great.
So then number 5.
There are so many to hate, so we should just take them one at a time.
I mean, I have others that I hate, but I think
so there are too many to choose from.
As a human being, I just want to say I'm so sorry that happened to you. I am, and and knowing how much you resonate, Kelley, with other people, to feel like someone was kind of making fun of your depth and making fun of your experience by saying something so, I feel like it's a statement of mockery. That is like, that's a slap on the face to the honor you give to other people's experiences, period. And if I add more, I'll detract. Okay, so I am sorry that happened. Okay, so what response helps the most when you are in a situation, the tough stuff of life is there? What, as a therapist, as a human, as a daughter of God, as a beautiful agent of change, would you say has helped you?
I mean, I know that the phrase "I'm sorry" doesn't, I mean, our language is limited. And so I feel like we should always be seeking to expand our emotional vocabularies, because I feel like in our culture, we have fairly impoverished emotional vocabularies. But the words "I'm sorry," they do fit. It's not a statement of taking responsibility for someone else's pain, but just I'm so sorry that you are having to go through that. So I'm sorry. I am with you. I'm going to check in on you. I want to help. And just depending on what that particular person has to offer. I mean, if I share something with you, you turn around with 4 incisive, amazing questions or statements that just go to they're just balm to the soul. And that's because I get to share with them. I mean, you're an expert and a professional, so that's amazing. And but other people who don't have training, they can still absolutely just offer their presence. I always say there's a lot more wrong to say than right to say. And so if people are willing to just hold the moment of a little bit of, it can feel awkward because in the listener, they think they're supposed to add something to the moment, but the speaker is typically fairly overwhelmed and their little nervous system, they can't really take in a lot. So they don't really notice that you're even being quiet. Not every case, sometimes it's like, why won't they say something? Because it's all case by case, and that's why it can't be a perfect. It's not a perfect formula. But I think if our culture can if we can keep on working on just allowing for a moment for people of suffering. And I know it kind of sounds cheesy to say hold space, for that person, but I think that those are decent vocabulary words to describe what you're needing to do. Because when people disclose something painful, I think just being quiet with them, and I'm so sorry, and that sounds really hard. You know what? Somebody was really, really struggling in my presence a week or 2 ago, and they were so upset and they couldn't get their words. And I said, you just have hell inside of you right now. And they were like, yes. I mean, it just felt like it was a match for them. And so I can't say that to every person. It's not going to fit like a Band-Aid. Every boo-boo.
Sure. But
just giving permission.
You had a moment though, Kelley, where you allowed your body to imagine being their body.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really well said. That's what empathy is, right? And that's what we're trying to help people continue to cultivate inside of themselves.
And that means that you made room.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I think that like, if we were to talk, like if people said, what do we do to aid the growth, is to make room. Is to make room and to go, oh my goodness, what I'm imagining being, like, as I imagine being in your body, I imagine that there's hell inside. Like, and maybe you're so like good at this, like it didn't even take you a ton of time, but it might take other people a lot of time. And it's like, you know, a professional athlete who's really good at, you know, managing the strengthening and they kind of, everything clicks for them really quickly. The muscle memory is there. Other people, it's much more concentrated. It's much more, I have to focus, and that's okay because it just means the brain is growing.
Right. You're bringing up a skill. And I have so many other skills I have to bring up.
And so, but this skill is right there kind of waiting for the picking. It's like a low hanging fruit at this point for you.
Right.
And you could say, oh my God, I imagine that you have hell inside.
Yeah.
So I think that when some of our listeners are listening to this and they're like, how do I connect with people? And how do I bring my soul to bear, witness to others? And because that is the core of community. And that's also the core of what I need as a human. Perhaps, Kelley, do you feel like you need that as a human?
Yeah.
Someone to bear witness, to remember you, to remember.
All the time. You'll never outgrow that.
Yeah. And I think that someone told me recently, like, that's why people get married still, is like, because someone will bear continual witness.
Yeah.
And I think that we can all do that. Like, I can do that as a mother. I can do that as a wife, certainly. I can do that as a friend, remembering a joke, a gift, a need, an experience. But when the moment you said, oh my gosh, you have hell inside, like that meant you made room. And I just want everyone out there hearing this, like the soul connection. Not only, Kelley, is your magic with the tone of your voice, your demeanor, your beauty, your intelligence, but I think also because you decided that despite what I did not receive, I still want to take care of others receiving it. And I also balance that I need to receive it. And I think as we mature, we realize I still do have my needs. And so I did not write this down as a question to ask you, and I'm looking at my things here. When you say what response helps the most, and it's that literal show of presence, you know, I know you have some old relationships in your life that have loved you and have seen you and have liked you and have enjoyed and cherished you. Would you say that there's something you could offer right now that you're like, this was the game changer response for me? And it's okay. If you're like, I have no clue, do not put me on the spot. That's a cornering question. Now I'm unsafe. But I do not want you to feel unsafe. I just want you to feel like you had the room to attach to, if there was more that we could learn from your connection experience, because you have not had it easy, sweet, beautiful, smart Kelley Gray. You have not had it easy. So was there like a particular moment where you're like, that love for me? I didn't set you up very well for that, so I apologize, and you have every right to say no way.
I don't know that it's a very different answer though. I don't know that it's a different answer than what I've already said. Just I'm with you. I'm sorry.
I'm with
And
you.
tell me more
Tell
can
me
be
more.
great.
Uh-huh.
Tell me more is such a beautiful giving away of power. You're not holding and trying to take control
Yeah.
and make meaning for somebody else. If you say, tell me more, it lets them,
Mhm.
they relax. Do you have, I mean, that was a beautiful question. Do you have an answer to that one?
Um, I think being remembered. I think being remembered, and it doesn't need, for me, it is just so much more of a few sentences. Like, I know who you are. I know what you've
Mhm.
brought to the table. I'm
Yeah.
a real credit where credit's due kind of gal. And I hope
Yeah.
it doesn't sound moralistic or something, but um, I'm a real give credit where it's due. And
Yeah.
um, when I think of what you've overcome, you know, and what you've decided to be despite what you've been exposed to, I think that's true heroism. And I think that there are many heroes out there who, I think if we got in touch with our own hero within, we would see more heroes without.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I just want to say that I think you show presence, and I think as I show presence, and I don't get into my anxiety, but I get into my hope.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that it is a huge thing I can offer, that even is more important than my intelligence. It's more important than my knowledge.
Mhm.
It's saying that I'm unafraid. And I think that
Mhm.
you've shown that time and
Mhm.
again. Thank you for your time today and for letting us
Yeah.
know you better. And we'll go ahead and say best to you on this snowy April. And we love you and thank you for your time.
Thank you. I love you, friend.
Okay.